If you feel lost in life, I understand. And in this video, I'm going to explain why your brain has been quite literally hijacked and why it's not entirely your fault. But by the end of this video, you're going to have a simple action step so you can be less hijacked and live a better life. My name is Steven, and I hope in this video to help you get 1% better at whatever you want to do in life and just live a little easier. A little background is that I have a YouTube channel that has nothing to do with what I'm talking to you about right here. It's a very niche down YouTube channel, as a matter of fact. We just talk about Las Vegas, Nevada, the economy, the happenings around town, and the business of the city. And over the course of the last 6 years, I've done well over 1,200 live streams. So I've had probably cumulatively over 1 million, if not 2 million people, not all at once, mind you, but people in my chats, on live streams, all participating live in the chats. I don't say that as a flex. I say that so you can understand why I know that so many people are feeling frustrated and pent up and what they could simply do about it to make themselves better. You see, we'll see things come into the chat that have absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. And that's because people want to have a voice. And that's because people are frustrated. Case in point, great point, is Disney released a live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was either in 2025 or 2024. Rachel Zegler was the lead in the film, and it had a lot of controversy from people who were on the right side of the political spectrum. They felt that Disney's going in the wrong direction, and they wanted to have an online forum about it, and they would come into my chats and they would complain and talk about it. Now, before you think I am anything but grateful for these people that grace themselves in the presence on my streams, I am completely grateful for these people, but I do totally understand where they're coming from. They're sitting watching one of the most famous cities in the world, and instead of talking about how amazing and reflecting on the business, or talking about how the casinos are preying on people and increasing prices, instead of being on topic, they want to talk about this thing that's very, very important to them. So why does this all happen, and why does it matter to you? Well, if you're feeling like you're trapped right now, you're feeling like you're locked in position, you're feeling like nobody will listen to you, and you're feeling pent up and frustrated, the first thing you have to understand is that is exactly what social media networks want you to feel. That's how they want you to be. You see, dog bites man doesn't get any clicks when the local news station reports it, but man goes on rampage and bites and eats 15 dogs would get tons of activity and clicks. The sad part about it is that YouTubers get criticized for using clickbait and titles, but unless we use clickbait and titles, and unless the local news reports on the man that run around on a rampage biting all the dogs in the neighborhood, nobody will pay attention and nobody will listen. Now, platforms like X and Facebook and Instagram and Reddit, they know this, and what they do is they understand who their audience is, and they harbor these negative types of informational feeds and algorithms so that they can keep you on the platform as long as they possibly can. It's a way of hijacking your brain and making it so you want to stay engaged in the conversation and the activity, but the problem is, unlike in the past, before we had instantaneous access to the entire world in the palm of our hands in the form of our phones, we don't have a balance anymore. You see, time was that you would go to the office and you would talk to people, or you'd be at the warehouse you work at, or wherever you worked, and your social circles would include a variety of different opinions. And in the past, it was not socially acceptable, and it still isn't in real life, to sit there and berate and belittle a person for their differences in opinion that they might have. But online, these things completely go away, and we flock to our echo chambers, and we are able to surround ourselves with sycophants, people that will just agree with us on everything that we say, and we choose and pick to follow people who are going to be complementary to our thoughts at all given times. And the social media algorithms, the networks, they completely know this, and they know that that's what will keep you on the platform. They sprinkle in a little bit of outrage here and there, and even show you things that are against your mindset or what you agree with, so you can become even more outraged and go in and get into it and into the fray with people, all in a vain effort to keep you on the platform. Why do they want to keep you on the platform? And the answer is simple, and you probably already know, but let's just get it out there. These social media networks make money when you stay on the platform, and they can display ads to you. And if eventually you see enough ads and you get annoyed enough that you don't want to see any more ads, they'll gladly sell you the premium version of the platform with everywhere from $9.99 a month to remove ads to the ridiculous $40 a month that X charges for right now. So the longer they keep you on the platform and the more engaged that they make you in the platform, the more that you are going to benefit their bottom line and make them money. But the more that you're going to fall into a pit of frustration and anger and just argumentative activities that you never would have done in real life if you were going and standing in a bank line in the past, and you still wouldn't do it. Imagine a scenario where every single interaction you had in real life was similar to online interactions. You're having a conversation with somebody and the topic of politics or religion comes up. Would you really react in the same way or expect a person to react in the same way that somebody else would online? Would you expect them to insult you and berate you? Would you do that to another person? The answer is most likely no. But online, this is completely okay. So your mental state continuously just takes little tiny hits of frustration, anger, anxiety, until you form a new base level in your brain for this is how you will operate all the time, to the point where you are just frustrated all the time, looking at everybody as though they're your enemy somehow when they completely aren't. We are all in the same boat on the same planet together in the same race. We all bleed the same if you were to cut your finger on a paper cut. So you ever notice, for example, and I want to give you a prime example of how these social media networks do this. You ever notice if you're on Facebook, and many of you won't use Facebook, and if you don't use Facebook, that's awesome, good for you. And if you do, that's awesome, good for you. But if you're on Facebook and somebody drops in a YouTube link, you can't just go on the mobile app on your phone to YouTube and open it up in a new app or browser. No. Instead, what it'll do is it'll open it up in a web browser contained within the Facebook app, so you can watch the video but then quickly return back to the Facebook app. As a matter of fact, I can tell you right now, it takes several steps for you to be able to actually go to YouTube from Facebook. Step 1, click the link. Step 2, click on open in browser. Step 3, click on the little banner above that says open an app. And only then can you get free of the Facebook ecosystem that they want to keep you in. And again, that is just because the longer you're on Facebook, the longer you're on YouTube, the longer you're on X, the more you're just basically bolstering their bottom line. So how do you solve all this, and why do people come into completely unrelated chat streams and start talking about things that are not related to the topic? Well, people come into those streams and talk to people and talk about things not related to the topic because they're carrying over their adversarial ways that they've been trained to act on these platforms as they have their echo chambers surround them and give them pats on the backs and attaboys into other places in life. And this is something that you can break free of. But what you have to understand in order to break free is that it's going to require you to do some things that you might not be used to after you've been trained on these algorithms, and that would be critical thinking. It's going to require you to take some steps. I recently, in the last few months, deleted the icon in my browser that would take me quickly to the X platform because I noticed I was spending far too much time on the platform. I took off all of the notifications for all of my social media apps with the exception of my YouTube channel where people comment directly on my videos because I noticed that it would strategically try to pull me back into the platform. This is something that's been researched and proven over and over again. These social media apps will not send you a notification when it happens. It will send you a notification when it's noticed that you haven't been in the app for a certain amount of time, and it wants to pull you back into the ecosystem because it knows that if you check out of Facebook for too long, it might go to the back of your mind and you might not spend enough time browsing ads and having Meta throw things in front of you that can generate advertising revenue for them. Just in one case. Twitter is no different, X as they call it these days, and YouTube is pretty much the same. So the first step is to admit that you have a problem and admit that you are being addicted to these apps because it gives you a hit of dopamine and it gives you a surge of feeling good about yourself when people magically agree with you. The second step is to understand that it's not that people are magically agreeing with you. Whether you're a conservative or you're a liberal person or you're somewhat in the middle, there's always been people like this out there for you to be able to connect with, but you are just being shoved to those people on an ongoing basis to keep you on their platforms for longer to make them more money with these social media networks. So understand that you don't have to be as connected as you think you do, and that these things are pushing these stories on you not to inform you or make you 1% smarter, but in order for you to be reinforced in your already enforced way of thinking. And it's okay to have an enforced way of thinking. It's okay to say and identify as a conservative or a liberal or a moderate or somebody that's in the middle. It's all right, and it doesn't make you a bad person, but what does make you not a bad person but bad at sowing a future for yourself is getting too addicted to the dopamine rush that comes with having people agree with you all the time. That's a dangerous place to be. I'm going to give you a perfect example of this. We have a guy named Henry Ruggs III. He was a super rock star in the NFL playing for the Las Vegas Raiders here in town until one day he drove his super high-end supercar, sports car, at about 170 miles an hour, I believe it is, into the back of another lady in traffic while she was sitting there at a light with her dog, instantly taking the lives of her and her dog. When they found Henry Ruggs III at the scene of the accident, they noticed that he was incredibly intoxicated, and everybody had wondered how he was able to actually get in the car and get, on the road in that state. Well, it turns out that the people that surrounded Henry Ruggs III were what we call sycophants. Sycophants are people who will just agree with anything that you have to say. It can be for any reason. In the case of Henry Ruggs III, I would strongly believe, and I can't prove though, that these people were, liking their access to his wealth and his money that he had for being a super, rock star, multi-million-dollar player, and they were afraid to stand up to him in order to possibly lose that access. Now, online, the sycophants come because, again, the echo chamber that's being fed to you is being fed to you by the algorithm to keep you on the platform for longer so you can make them more money. So step one in this journey for you to become 1% better is realize what's happening. Step two is to minimize the amount of interactions you have on these platforms, and you could even move further to step 2.5, which would be deleting these platforms from your device altogether. But I find it convenient to be able to go check the news on X as it happens, and I find it convenient to be able to go and text people that I have family around the world on Facebook Messenger. Step 3 would be for you to sit down and make a set of goals for yourself and things that you really should worry about versus the things that the social media platforms are training you to be worried about. Look at your future and do a hard inspection on your future and ask yourself, is the future I want going to come to me by browsing a feed on a social media network so I can make Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or Meta as a company some more money? Or is it going to happen if I break that cycle and I sit down and I get to serious work on myself? Because at the end of the day, we're blessed to have about 80 years on average if you live in North America or a G8 country. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be sitting on your deathbed, taking your last few breaths, thinking about that argument that you won against somebody who saw things differently than you and how you dunked on them to prove that Disney is doing this or Nike is doing that or the NFL is going in this direction. So that's my thoughts for today, and if you're 1% smarter, you might consider subscribing and coming back to this channel. I'll be posting videos like this on a variety of topics. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.